Welcome to the Mayne podcast, the only podcast that takes you behind the scenes and gets an in-depth look at the gears of the shitposting machine. Tonight, we have a whole smorgasbord of guests with us. We have Morgan from the That's Fine group here with us tonight. Morgan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just hosting a little podcast here. Looks like you're sitting in an office of some sort.
I am, yes. This is my home office.
Is this where you make memes?
No, this is where I spend 10 hours a day developing.
Good office. I see awards, things on the wall. We have with you Daniel.
Oh yeah, I'm Daniel from That's Fine.
And Daniel is looking at me through a tiny little pinhole because the camera is peeling away or something.
Yeah, it's like, teeth are luxury bones. Having a webcam is a luxury. So, but it feels cool. It feels like I'm looking at you through inside a tube or something.
Yeah, or like a toilet paper roll. But it's also kind of looks like there's a little moon silhouette there. And we're a shitposting podcast, so this toilet paper roll works for me.
That's actually good. We discovered a new meme rule today in void posting: is no shit in the void. It brings you out of the void. Yeah.
Oh, shid. S-H-I-D in the void. Yeah, that's a very old rule. I think we're definitely responsible for no shit in the void. That's a main anti-Mayne rule. Yeah, when Void first got started, I didn't know who the admins were, and I was just being my usual dickish self, and I got going, and then it was like, oh, it's so-and-so and so-and-so, and you hurt their feelings. And I was like, oh, no, I have to go and play nice now. And, I mean, we're all friends. I just didn't know I was just being myself, and it offended a couple people. So, sorry about that. I'll always make good if I did something stupid.
Yeah. No, it is really neat how there's like an unwritten rule in certain groups where, there's like a culture of like no shade. And then there's like other places where like a little like roughhousing is going on. And then there's what was that political group last year where it's like you could post political memes but not comment?
Oh, you could post political memes but not argue.
Oh yeah, but not argue. Yeah, you could comment but not argue.
Yeah, that was a tough one. It's almost like we're picking up this episode where we left off the last one. We were talking about like the weirdest groups you were in. And that's a very weird concept, but it's kind of cool. I was in it for a while, but I don't really like just discussing politics on Facebook. I obviously come here for the memes, so that group for me had a very short novelty.
It got zucked very quickly too, so.
Yeah. How do you deal with people who are at different levels of communication in the meme scene? Because like some people are there to like start an argument and have an argument, and that's normal in places. It's just really interesting how some of the different groups you'll have just like a completely pacifist culture. What you guys have been doing, the main group, about just like making people a lot more chill, and that's an enforced part of culture. And
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's very kind. I mean, I'm glad someone thinks that we're just trying to chill people out.
You don't think that?
No, I absolutely do. But
Okay.
there's been this hard to shake stigma surrounding us as well. So, and with that, I actually do want to introduce the members of Mayne. We have us because we have a whole smattering of guests still on the call. We have my co-host Skyler, who is
me, Chris Pratt.
He's just over there playing slappers. That's what the kids call it these days.
Slapping the CPU is what you said, I think.
Slapping the CPU. Yep, that sounds right. Then Dez was just like on his way here, blasting some metal, getting hype. How you doing tonight, Dez?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Now you got a pretty big compliment. Anthony Carr, the man, the myth, the legend himself, listened to the entire last episode. He's never listened to an entire episode, and probably won't even hear this shout out. But he said, "I love Dez," and so we were like, "Get Dez back." Anthony loves Dez, which means other people will love Dez too.
Yo, give it up for Dez.
Yeah, buddy.
You're the secret sauce. We're gonna put you in a jar.
And Dez drives here to go back to work after he's done working so that he can be on the podcast, and we don't pay him to do that.
The things I do for y'all.
What's been good since last week, Dez?
Just the same old shit, man. You know, just fucking around, making memes, playing guitar.
Oh, you play guitar?
Yeah.
Oh man, so I had jam yesterday, and we had two guitarists, and one of them we call the child. He's like the youngest person of our group. His name's Deg, and he came over to play, and we had our whole band. So it's the drummer Nikolai, the guitarist Kevin, myself, and Deg. I play bass, and we're jamming, and I thought it was a pretty good jam. I had a good time. We usually record the sessions, and then at the very end, Deg goes, "Hey, can I pick up your bass?" I was like, cool, why not? He fucking grabs that bass, and he's like a god on this thing. He's better than I could ever dream of being. That was a real ego deflator, and which I need sometimes. But you ever have something like that happen where you're just like, you're feeling pretty good and someone fucking knocks you down a peg and playing?
That's every time I like play around somebody else. I'm like, oh, I'm fucking trash. I need to throw all my gear away.
I know, I feel like that a lot. Do you play out? Are you in a band?
Not really, man. Nobody here like really gets into the kind of shit I like.
Like metal and shit?
Yeah, like, you know, thrash, death metal, that kind of stuff. Everybody wants to play like metalcore and shit.
Skyler wants to know where here is.
This is Paris, Texas.
Oh,
Texas.
that's right, because we were talking about the Eiffel Tower with the hat on it, and then you needed a picture of PC to complete your masterpiece.
Dude, I drove up there to prove to PC that shit was real last night.
I was wondering if you were about to take a drive to prove yourself. All right.
I did, man.
See, Dez is all Mayne. He'll drive out to the Eiffel Tower of Paris, Texas, to prove to PC in the middle of the night that he actually is in Paris, Texas.
Oh man, I only walked to the nearest Tasty Freeze to prove my meme self.
Did you at least suck down a chili dog while you were there?
I did. They're delicious.
Wonderful. Last but not least, we also have Josh Theiss back with us again. The main hype man is here, smoking the world's largest bowl and wearing his wig. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
Pretty good. The bull's getting me there. I think we're good.
Wheelchair extraordinaire.
You shattered the illusion of the wig. I really thought you had beautiful golden locks underneath.
Oh, hell no. I'm bald as shit, dude.
He's bald.
Sexy either way.
Once you get over being depressed about it, it's not bad. It really isn't.
Sounds like herpes, but better.
Well, he can attest to both, so we'll come to that at the end. And, so tonight we're going to do a little icebreaker. First of all, Daniel and Morgan didn't get a chance last week. I'd like to hear from them on what exactly is your style of memeing. What kind of, everybody views themselves as some sort of memer. What is your style?
I don't think I have a particular style. I've been doing a lot of void posts lately.
You crank out portraits really, really well. Squidward sus. The Squidward all of us.
Oh, my obscure mashups. I did a handsome Squidward Among Us mashup. That was one that I put time into that maybe got like 10, 15 reacts.
But that's like what I would say Morgan's style is like. Maybe you don't know it. I guess that happens a lot. But you do a lot of like big portraits with font changes. They have lots of lighting detail in them. They have lots of, I don't know if you put the shading in or if you just pick your photos really well. It's a really high quality image as opposed to like just grabbing like a grainy squared JPEG.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I like about. And you put a lot of attention into the fonts that you pick.
I spend a lot of time scrolling through free image sites to get like really high quality free images. And then I'm subscribed to this, I think they're a Dutch company where you can buy fonts from them, but they'll give you free fonts just for being subscribed to their newsletter.
So you're a font nerd.
Yeah.
getting completely free material though, so what you're using is royalty free, so there's no like potential for your memes to come back and bite you if it were to be monetized.
Exactly. And that was when we started the company, I learned a lot about copyright law. So that's why.
I had an NFT get pulled for copyright infringement. So, I figure, memes are almost completely found elements. So that's actually a really cool and unique style that you make memes that are actually legal. You're one of the only legal meme makers out there. So, Morgan, the legal meme maker, and then Daniel, what would you say your style is?
So I've been memeing since the 80s. I've been memeing ever since I could get like my hands on a photocopier. I don't know if anyone remembers those old punk flyers that they, back before we had the internet. If you had a show, there would be like a punk flyer, and it would have like 40 different cut up things in it, and it would, it would have like a giant piece of chicken, but that chicken was a gun, and it was like very political. So like I've been really kind of into cut ups and cut and paste, and for just a long time. Like in college, I worked at a library which had like century old, like not lithographs, but they had images that were like 100 years old, and I would photocopy those and make memes. I would say what I'm doing like these days is pushing the limit of what kind of, if I can get on the same wavelength as other people, but still make something that's completely absurd and pushes some like element of meme making. So
I absolutely can see that in your style. You have a real bizarre absurdist, but a lot of the time there'll still be a joke there that's accessible. And I think what you were talking about before, and I don't know if we've covered this before, is pre-meming what you were doing before it had a name would have been like collaging, right?
Yeah. I used to take like Victorian women who were like having like a pose, and then I would take other text around it, and I would like write comical messages around it.
My mother actually was a collage artist, and among other art that she did, but that was her main when I was young was doing collaging, and it was always really weird. And here I am now making memes, following that. But I think the moment where I was like, "Ma, you gotta stop," was she had made a collage of like these poor African children that it was like National Geographic shit, and had put like a toucan around their arm looking all happy, and it's like this kid's in a paradise.
Shit.
And I was just like, came home from high school and I was like, Ma, we got to talk about your art. But then again, like looking back on it now, like was my mom pushing the envelope or was she just being clueless?
Yeah, good thing she didn't get clamshelled.
Yeah, my mom would get canceled these days. Obviously, in a style that's as absurd as yours, you probably make some memes that you put a lot of work into that just don't really translate. Like you'll think you've got one that hits.
If you come up with a meme and you can execute it within 5 minutes, that's the best. That's going to be the thing that gets you the most likes. It's going to be the thing that's like most relevant to your consciousness. And anything that I put more than 20 minutes into, and often I'll spend like an hour or two on one piece, is like whenever I do it, it's nothing connects. Like the more time I put into it, the more I'm focusing on a detail. Like I had one meme where I spent 30 minutes on placing someone in a rails. This is an olive meme, and there's like a futuristic civilization, and then like in a tiny 10 by 10 pixel area, I spent all this time, making somebody sitting on the shelf, like talking about how great olives are in the future. And you can't get rid of olives. For people who don't know, there's like an anti-olive group, and that's a fun thing to tweak. It's a safe thing to tweak.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there was an olive and cilantro battle too, wasn't there? For a while there was a beef
battle
between the two groups, and it was like a group where mentioning cilantro would get you muted, and of course you tried to figure out every sneaky way you could work cilantro into anything.
I missed a whole subculture here. Like What?
Well, I mean, this is just going back to like the weirdest groups you're in. People always come up with these sort of things. That one just happened to be a cilantro based group, or a group where you couldn't talk about cilantro. I might be
fun.
confusing them. I know the olive stuff too, because the olive stuff, Bo Walker posts like different things with olives, so I know that's That's Fine tie in there.
Yeah, don't say olives.
Olives. So some of the old tropes that have been around forever were like what? Olives, pickles, launching car batteries into the ocean. It's a fun and safe activity. Minions.
Completely legal.
Morgan, help us out here. What are some old
Uh,
meme tropes?
when I first got into meme groups, it was Tide Pods. And then not long after that was my favorite bandwagon, which was the poop knife.
Oh my god, yeah.
If your poops are too big, okay, to flush down the toilet, you have a designated poop knife that I guess stays in the bathroom, and you cut your poops down to size so they flush down the toilet.
Did it start from a Twitter thread? It didn't start on Facebook. It was this guy telling a story about how his family, he grew up with a poop knife, and when he moved out and had his own house, he had his own poop knife.
It was probably like Twitter or Reddit.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about, and then I think he asked maybe like a friend that he had taken a dump in his toilet, and he was like, "Hey man, where's your poop knife?" And he was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yep, that's the one.
That's speaking of scatological stuff. That's Fine is actually built on diarrhea. I'm pretty sure.
Wonderful.
We're not a brown crowd here. All right.
We're partially brown. I thought of instituting no shitting minions in Maine, but I don't want it to be so specific. So the other white Josh, have you ever had a meme that you put a lot of work into, but it did not translate?
Most of them translate because there's not much translation to go on, to be honest. I usually get a random thought in my head, and then whatever happens. I just send it out into the ocean and see what it does.
I don't know. I don't think you give yourself enough credit. Your memes are on a whole nother level. Whether you're in control of it or not, some higher power is working through you on those things.
Who do you meme as? I'm sorry, I don't have the connection.
Oh, Joshua Theiss. It's just me. There's no alt.
Oh, yeah. Same.
You probably wouldn't ever see his shit because he's like the memer's memer. He hides in little nooks and crannies, and you don't see his shit, and it never gets any exposure. But it should.
It's just fun to do sometimes.
Oh. So modest.
Well, when I started, I was thinking about that after we talked about it last time, what my style was. And I was like, I really have no idea. But when I started, was in and just comments. Like, everything I made just went as a comment. It was never a post for I don't know how long. That was my favorite place to, just stay. It's all random. You never know what you're going to get. You start here with one meme, and all of a sudden you're down here and something way the fuck else.
Digging around in the trash. Because the comments are the trash. You said it last episode.
I did.
You dig around in the trash and see what's good, and I would absolutely agree that the comment section of most places is digging around in the trash. Dez, you got an example for me?
What were we talking about again?
Meme that you put a lot of work into, but it just didn't translate.
Dude, ones like that, I'll just send them to people that I know will get it, or I'll tag them. But usually something specific, I'm not going to really post.
Skyler, I think I'm going to ask you the same question. I know you have some memes. You have Skyler has a webpage called The Worst Memes You Ever Seens. Is that correct?
Yes, that is a Facebook page. The Worst Memes You Ever Seens at Worst Memes Ever Seens.
You might get one new follower from this. This is going to be exciting for you.
That is really exciting.
I'm writing it down.
So, what is the meme you put a lot of work into but didn't translate?
Honestly, I feel like I put the most work into font work. And because, I'm putting that work into font work, the rest of the memes seems to work pretty well. Like the two memes that I'm thinking of in particular that I think I put the most work into was I'm sure everybody listening, maybe Daniel and Morgan, they're new to it. They don't know that I have a pretty big Always Sunny background. I was making a D Reynolds Master in Disguise Always mashup. So she's always dressing in these different costumes, right? So I made a Master in Disguise mashup, and I worked a bunch on the font, and I pasted all these like different font or faces of her in her different disguises around like the movie poster, and that did pretty well. And then the other one that I can really think of that I spent like probably more than 30 minutes on was instead of American Pie, it was Jamaican Quai, like Jamiroquai.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I spent at least 20 to 30 minutes just on the font because I was piecing it together from the existing pieces instead of, finding an existing font that matched and then just, kind of cloning the style. But that did reasonably well in it was probably in my early memeing days, probably like 2018, 2019.
I like the Jamiroquai memes. That's a soft spot. Like if you can make a good Jamiroquai meme, I think I remember that one. I was like, holy shit, no one memes Jamiroquai. Like no one memes Lou Bega. Like when I want to hit like something that I know isn't done already, I'm going Mambo number 5. I'm going to Jamiroquai, like hit some of those more obscure artists that still have a soft spot in like people's nostalgia.
And like honestly, I did not even know that in Napoleon Dynamite that he's dancing at the school talent show or whatever to Jamiroquai. It's a Jamiroquai track. It's called Canned Heat.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I did not know that until I made that meme, and people were educating me in the comments.
Oh, you got an awful lot of Napoleon Dynamite counter memes.
I don't think I got a lot of counter memes like to that specific meme, but people were telling me in the comments, hey, check out this song by him, and check out this album or whatever, and they were like, hey, you should listen to Can Heat, and I was like, oh shit, this is the song that he dances to in Napoleon Dynamite, like.
Oh, that's amazing.
So let's talk about. Skyler wanted to talk a little bit about TikTok. He's a huge TikTok fan. Watches TikTok
Don't
constantly.
say that.
Yeah, and all of his live slappers only is up on TikTok if you want to see it. But no, actually, what we were talking about was a little bit of like what TikTok is versus like what meme culture is. And I'm kind of like my first thought when we were talking about it earlier is like is TikTok the next step in memeing? Is this what people are doing now, or is that something for younger groups? Are us the old jaded memers like gonna stick where we are, or is eventually everybody gonna be making TikTok videos? My wife is like always showing me TikTok videos 24/7. What do you think about that?
Now I have to ask kind of a weird question. How old is your wife?
See, my wife is just a couple of years younger than me, so she's 32.
32. Okay, so I'm 27,
Or she just turned
and
33.
and I feel like TikTok is more prevalent in age groups, younger than even I am, but they are prevalent still. I mean, it feels like the next big thing. Like we talked a little bit in an earlier episode about how Gen Z versus Gen X, and you called yourself a geriatric millennial.
Yes, geriatric millennial. Yeah, because we were talking about like Rocco's Modern Life and like the cartoons that kind of defined our era.
And we talked about absurd versus random. Gen Z has this random style versus the absurdity of geriatric millennials and Gen Xers. And are memes moving in a direction where TikTok could be a viable meme platform? Is that the future of memes, or is the way that we create memes analog, kind of mashing pictures together with funny punchlines? Is that going to continue to be the counterculture?
Yes.
I think it'll probably evolve.
Oh, I really fucking hate TikTok. Like that, everybody my age is like obsessed with it, and it's just so annoying. And it takes so little effort to make one of those, and every 16-year-old kid's like, "Oh, this is so funny."
Well, see, now my wife shows me all sorts. I've seen some runs that definitely take some serious effort. What is a TikTok? I remember when Vine was a thing, and it was like everybody was doing 7-second video clips. Is TikTok like that? Are you limited in a time frame? Like what?
Yeah, TikTok are vines that are too long.
Yeah,
Vines that are too long. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's actually a very concise definition. I'm
Yeah,
happy with that.
I think they're a minute, so you get a lot of things where it's like somebody starts telling a story, and then they kind of ramble on, and then they're like, "All right, like for part 2," and then it takes them like 10 minutes to tell a story. But there's some really good storytellers on TikTok. I think the difference is when you get feedback on what works with a meme, it's like very visual or very like punchliney. And like when you get feedback on a TikTok, it's a lot more overtly social, I think. The medium kind of restricts or encourages like people exchanging like social based memes more of, I don't see somebody making a TikTok about like walking in on their brother being dead or something like that. Where that's a funny meme.
That's a funny meme. Yeah, see, you can. I think what you're trying to say is that you can convey a lot darker material through a meme than you ever could through a TikTok. A TikTok that would be dark as fuck, and someone would be like, "Well, maybe we should send help to this kid's house." Whereas if it's a meme, it's just like, "Oh, they're just making fun." Or are we so jaded as memers that that's just okay?
I think there's something about including yourself in the video because like none of us meme as ourselves. Does anyone meme as themselves?
I've been known to throw my face into things.
Okay.
I have a giant dildo on my forehead in a picture. I put it out there. I'm not worried about it. I'm past the point.
Main Photoshop requests. I see a lot of people requesting edits of just like photos of themselves that haven't previously been seen in other main groups.
Yeah. There's like one random guy in our Photoshop edit request group that he's just made it his home, and because nobody has anything better to do, we just humor this fucking rando that popped in our group, and everybody does whatever he asks, and then of course has a lot of fun with it too. But they also like he's getting like thousands of dollars worth of photo editing for free because we got nothing better to do.
Yeah, that's good old David Hill.
Yeah, David Hill. And now we're here on a podcast talking about memes, so clearly we have nothing better to do with our time.
That's the perfect amount of humor because like I don't know how many of you are graphic artists or have done that kind of work before. Giving your work away for free is terrible, and then doing it for someone, just one person.
Just one person, yeah. 'Cause at least memeing at you, a few people see it. But like when you're doing it for just one guy, like, I mean, at least in the group we're having fun with it. There are other people playing along, but it's completely like we were talking about earlier, like comment memes. You live in the comments there. But I wanted to get back to TikToks and other platforms because I think this is a good time to kind of talk about the reason we brought you two on here. So these are two members of, I won't call them a competing meme group. We're all just out there making memes, having a good time. And
we're not a sequel. We're an equal.
A equal. And some of the main history we've talked about, go back and listen to episode 1 or 2, I can't remember which, but we talk about the creation of Mayne, and it was actually not a split from That's Fine, but some people who were members of That's Fine deciding to make their own group because they felt like That's Fine was becoming the man. And then, of course, as the cycle goes and the group gets bigger, you become the man too. And now we're all just the man talking on a podcast, so we're equals. But yeah, these two that we brought here have been working on just like this podcast is an entirely meme-based project, they have an entirely different project that they've been working on, a completely meme-based platform for us, the memers. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you've been working on. I hear you just had a launch.
Yes, we had a very soft launch. We've brought on a couple users just to be extra pairs of eyes to look over things, use the features, try to break things.
Yeah, we need to break a lot more stuff.
Yeah,
So we started this whole thing kind of similar to what the meta that you just described about how, groups split or, groups wind up getting shut down or something like that. Morgan and I have spent an awful lot of time talking about like what goes into moderation, what goes into like culture in a particular group. How do people like manage those groups? This iteration doesn't have a lot of that like comment moderation stuff that's in there, but we've been working a lot of prototypes for that. Because when you have a rando like meme group, the people can bring it down. So I would say like that was a huge motivator for us to work on the site, as well as like the groups getting Zuck shutting us down, shutting up our ground for, I'd say, really absurd and obtuse and opaque reasons. One of the things that we're focusing on is like human moderators, an actual chain of events that you can look through when somebody moderates your post and blocks you, or for whatever reason. Right now, instead of screaming into the void, we're going to have some sort of system that you can look into that.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about Zuck shutting down our groups, deleting our groups, putting our groups on post approval and retroactively enforcing rules, but like you see these very clear violations of their community standards, like pretty overt racism and misogyny, and Facebook doesn't do anything.
They really don't. You can report the most awful groups, and it's like, we've reviewed your request and we see no problem or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of insulting, and yet we'll get shut. The memers will get shut down for slapping one piece of silicone dildo on one image, or whatever. That doesn't happen unless you use a flesh-colored one. Just keep that in mind. That's why we use purple. But sorry. Anyway,
I use the expression foam butts, but I like purple dildos. Yeah, it was actually really liberating. We had an alpha up earlier this year, and somebody started posting nipples, and I was like, yeah, that's not violating any community standards. Some images of nipples are hurting people, but
I started a group just for posting nipples in our prototype.
Neep nops, something like that. We're all working under limitations. We're never going to stop being in it. We live in a society, but it's a limit. There's a lot of limitations that like I think we forget that we have, because we're like, oh well, we're in Facebook, so we have to kind of like tone it down a little bit. Or we're in groups where they're like, yeah, no blood, no gore, no this, no that. There are places where you want to joke around that and not get, not piss people off.
Right, or get zucked. I mean, I had a Fred Durst meme that I made. It was the chest burster alien scene where the guy is laying on the operating table and the alien bursts out of his stomach. And everybody knows that's a very iconic scene. When you meme it, it's almost always fine. But I found this different direction pose that was a little more gory. It might have been a behind the scenes shot. And I used that instead, and I put a Fred Durst hat on the chest burster alien, and I called it Fred Burst. And I was like,
amazing.
This is a great meme. I'm like, I'm really happy with this. And I post it, and it immediately just slapped down. It was like, it just had enough fake blood that it was too much. And I got shut down for like a week for Fred Burst.
Bro, that's tragic.
That's absurd.
Exactly.
I know people who used to work at Facebook and like help them along. I asked them for some advice, because I was starting up some software, with moderation, and their advice was to, don't worry about moderation, don't worry about your viewer, your audience, just like grow as fast as possible. I'm like, well, that's how we got here in the first place, by treating people like they're the product instead of like people who want to go and hang out with their friends 24/7 and meme poop. So it's like I was pretty spicy about someone who like created a company that creates problems for people. It's not just your memes getting shut down. It's like harassment. When I meme as a woman, I catch all sorts of shit that I don't normally. Like I've literally had somebody reach out to me in the comments and tell me that they were going to call the cops on me. I mean, I'm not worried about that, but it's not a fun thing for like a social media platform to enable. So I take some of this stuff real personally about like creating a safe environment and also it being fun. We were talking about fonts earlier. It's one of the things I really like about Morgan and her design is like we're putting non-traditional fonts in a web design. We're doing a lot of things that a normal website rollout wouldn't do. And because Facebook is trying to be everything. They're trying to sell stuff on marketplace. They're trying to their groups are very hard to search, and I think by focusing on just what we're doing, we're going to turn it from people being the product into it's like we have a home.
Yeah, we want a home for our community because I think we've done a really fantastic job with moderation on our own without Zuck interfering. We just really need our own space to cultivate that. The other thing I really hate about Facebook is how blatantly encouraged arguing is. It can be really stressful. And we had in the OG, that's fine. We'd really, and in the current iteration, we really discouraged that and largely got away from it. So
Yeah, so we're hoping to put in things that because some amount of arguing is fine, and that's actually the main, if I'm not mistaken, the main way is to kind of give people a little bit of latitude. A couple years ago, I was the kind of asshole that would come into a comment thing and tell someone exactly what I thought and how they should think, and was that person who would respond 40 times in a row to someone.
yeah,
And I think it was hanging out in Maine and having people like not getting kicked out and then learning is like, oh, you don't just jump on a post and there's 30 people who already like shit on this person. Why be the 31st?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like a kind of our philosophy, and I was trying to describe it to my therapist, was that I always saw myself as like the leader of the lost when I was in high school. Like we had this table where nobody really fit in anywhere else. And eventually we ended up having the largest table in the high school. And it was, it also felt like a pretty big analogy while I was kind of telling him, and he's listening to me and he's like, he starts using that table metaphor back to me. And I'm like, I get what you're doing here, but it makes sense. It's kind of that same feel for Mayne. And that was the original feeling that spawned the creation, was that kind of like, that's fine. Of course, had to moderate their group because of Facebook being this like, but that's perceived when that happens to people, it's perceived as this slight. And so then Mayne kind of happened as this like haven. And we're like, well, we might get zucked for allowing more, but we're just going to roll with it because we have to be this kind of safe place. So I appreciate what y'all are doing with this, and I understand the philosophy behind it for sure. And I had a question, actually, while we're still on the topic. Another thing you talked about was reach, and I was wondering what your thoughts are on like the algorithm. I mean, do you have to incorporate some sort of algorithm into this new platform that dictates how things are put in front of people's eyes, or is it going to be strictly like when it was posted? Because we were talking about engagement, and that makes me wonder, does a post on your platform, if it's getting more engagement, does it get pushed in front of people's eyes, or is there a way that you're doing this so that more people have exposure than they would on Facebook?
I'm actually glad you asked that because we've talked about like on our website and in our blog posts how something we don't like about Reddit and Twitter is if you're not huge on those platforms, and Instagram too, it's really, really hard to break in. So yeah, we want to encourage new memers as much as possible. I'm not sure. Right now, we don't have a visibility algorithm. It's just everything's posted in order by time.
I'm a big fan of people choosing what they want to see and choosing
Yeah.
from, like we might have an algorithm, but if someone just wants to go to their friend's timeline and consume it that way, like I only want to see what my friends see, or I only want to see what's in my groups, the thing about like Facebook is you can't. We're so used to this, I forgot about it. Like you can't subscribe to something and get every message or every post from a group. Like they will only show you some of the things.
Yeah, it's very weird and hackney how it works. Some people get buried for no reason. Other people get extreme. Like I understand some people get reached because they're incredible and they're great artists, and there's a reason people are latching on to what they're doing. The Jared Tomlins of the world that are just
Definitely.
everything they post is like fire, and it's being shared out there. But then there are people, that just like you kind of get an artificial inflation, or there's no reason for it for a short period of time, and then you're buried again. And so like I hate that it is this way, that we have this serotonin release or whatever tied to your amount of reacts. The fact of the matter is you're addicted to it just like anything else. It's something you consume, and you feel ups and downs from it. So, it's kind of shitty for it to just be absolutely arbitrary.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah, I think the user should have a lot of control over which feeds they see. They should be able to see everything from an individual. Like, if I want to see every Anthony Carr post, I better, and I sign up for it, I better damn well see the bread posts and I should see everything.
I want to see all the Craig posts. So,
Oh God.
Craig, what the hell is Craig? Are you guys hip to this hot new bandwagon? Dez, you made a few Craig memes yet, or what?
I made like one because I don't fucking get it.
You don't get it. All right. Theiss, you make any Craig memes?
No, none.
Zero?
What are you
Good
talking
job.
about?
This is all anti-Craig. What about you, Skyler?
I made all of Craig's memes. It's just me and Deese battling it out. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I haven't been on. I missed this whole I've been I was just burned out yesterday. I slept a lot, and I came in, and everything is Craig. I don't know where people stand on this.
I really don't know what to tell you, but I mean, I haven't made any Craig memes. I know that it stemmed specifically from a Sean Hills post where he reposted just like an image of people reacting, Craig, 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 Craig. There was a guy that messaged into the image, Craig, and the guy in the image, his name was tattooed on his back, Craig, and I can't help but associate Craig with like that shitty low poly brute from Halo Infinite, because I'm in some Halo shitposting group, and they really lashed onto Craig as that particular brute. I have not personally made a Craig meme myself.
And Theiss, you were lying to me, and you've made 1,000 of them.
I made a group literally that has Craig seen this.
I made one because I came in super late, and I just had to drop something, and that's fine daily. And it was, how do you do, fellow Craigs? No, how do you Craig, fellow Craigs? And he's holding the aggro Craig from
His shirt got
Nickelodeon's
me.
Global Guts. And Craig is facing him, and I actually had to cut the tattoo out of the guy's back because I wanted to swap the guy so it looked like he was looking directly at Steve Buscemi. So I flopped the guy around, swapped his Craig tattoo so it sat on his back appropriately, and I think that's it for Craig for me.
That's a lot of work for a Craig meme.
Yeah, I hear that they're supposed to be super low effort, but I came in with no understanding, so I just went hard in the paint.
Yeah, I woke up from a nap yesterday, and everything in Mayne shit posting was Craig, and I'm like, okay, I guess they're on that now.
Yeah, that's kind of how we do. You were hard in the ska wagon, though. I saw you rocking some serious ska.
Oh, I still got a whole list, baby.
I love ska wagon. I think anytime we can bring up ska these days is a transcendental experience,
There was a couple bursting dams too, because there were some groups that were like, no ska posts, and now they're cool with it.
Well, that's what I was talking about with Craig, was like, I guess people are just absolutely spamming. I'm sure you probably got a few Craig posts, and that's fine right now. They've trickled everywhere, but people were really hitting oops all OC memes hard with the Craig, and I guess they're just getting deleted now because Mayne gets a little carried away, and they like to like just go hard, and then they'll take it somewhere else and try to make it catch on. Like, hey, we're having fun with this. You want to join? Oh wait, we're just gonna do it anyway. Hell yeah!
God damn.
That one's for PC Junior. You're welcome.
I almost forgot about him this time.
Well, we made it to 52 minutes in. I just realized we're all running a little long here.
Oh, fuck you. You made my voice a damn outro macro. Like, I'm not that monotone.
I do everything like the most broken way possible. I go and cut it from the previous episode. And now we're like 6 or 7 MP3s deep. I'm hoping eventually it loses all fidelity.
It's amazing. Copy of a copy of a copy.
Are you going to keep on going until it does?
Well, I mean, we should find out within the next 100 episodes if it does.
All right, well, here's to episode 10 and maybe episode 100.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll come up with some new topics before episode 100, and maybe we'll have more than just Miguel. Oh, wait, it's time for our nightly Miguel shout-out. Miguel, how you doing tonight, buddy? Anybody else want to shout out to Miguel?
Hi, Miguel.
Yo, Miguel.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate everybody making time. This is the biggest gathering of the Mayne podcast yet. Good luck on your website and keep us posted on updates, Morgan and Daniel. I think it's cool what y'all are doing.
We need purple dildos on the site.
That is what it's missing.
Well, I did join the very first alpha and just put a main group in there. I was like, we got to at least have a presence, you know. We'll be back.
Nice. Well, thanks for having us.
I will say, actually, we're running kind of long here.
We're running kind of long here.